Blog Talk Radio.
Beheading the Hydra of tyranny with the sword of truth. What is truth? How about not lies? Join Basra Parsons and David Lopez on the Truth Will Overcome Tyranny live podcast at 5 p.m. PST on Saturdays on blogtalkradio.com/the NWO will fail to discuss the big issues that the corporate media don't want to know about. That's blogtalkradio.com/the NWO will fail. Also check out our website at truthwillovercometyranny.com because only truth can overcome tyranny.
What we got to say, fight the power. What we got to say, fight the power. Come on.
Illuminati Exposed Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, folks. It's the Truth Will Overcome Tyranny podcast for Illuminati Exposed Radio. And this is David Lopez. And we got Basra Parsons as well, co-hosting with us here.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, good. I got a red mic. That's all. I forgot about the colours.
Yeah, the red is good. That means you're live.
Okay. Red usually means stop. That's all.
True. So, here we are. Today we're talking about the mainstream media, the lamestream media, the dinosaur media, the media that's so last century, and is it dying? Is it getting stronger than ever? Are they winning the info war? Because there's definitely an info war going on out there, and it's basically, the corporate media is, what can I say? I mean, 90% full of shit. What do you reckon, Baz?
Never watch the television.
Good advice, yeah, man. I haven't watched TV in a long time. I've lived for periods without a TV in the house. I mean, I've got a TV in the house here, but I tell you what, like, it just aggravates me. I really don't enjoy watching television, especially, having done independent research and, living outside the bubble of the mainstream media to an extent. TV is the worst. It's a one-way channel of discourse. You're sitting there in a suggestive state. It puts you in a trance and just drops all sort of nonsense in your head. And the advertising's the worst. Like, one thing, I'm actually in I do marketing, internet marketing, for a living, and I look at TV advertising and I see products that people don't need. I see the whole Bernays, Edward Bernays, selling a lifestyle rather than a utility, getting pumped out of the TV. Things like washing powder is a great example. All washing powder is pretty much the same stuff. It's got sodium bicarbonate in it. That's the active ingredient. It's got detergent, whatever, in it, and it's all the same shit. But they just want to bombard you with this branding, just so that it sticks in your head, so that when you're at the supermarket, that's the brand you choose. That's the one that because it's all it's all the same. And
it's hilarious too. I mean, most politicians and so forth, I doubt whether they ever go to a supermarket, Dave.
Probably not.
I really do. They're so out of touch with how most people live their lives. They've never been to a petrol station. I doubt very much whether they go to a supermarket. They fly around by the seat of their pants, saying whatever their masters tell them to, and making laws for us to live by. And the media just goes and parrots every bloody word that they say. It doesn't matter how hollow, cant they utter, the media will let it pass.
Yeah, and most journalists are a bit beholden, actually. There's certain parameters they have to work in. They can't.
Most journalists, David, are shit scared of losing their job and becoming the next unemployed. Yeah.
And there's the access to politicians and so forth, lawmakers, police, whoever. If they don't report something the way a politician wants, or the cops or whatever, they're not going to get access to them anymore. So
that's it. Yeah, it's a comfortable symbiotic relationship. In fact, the media wouldn't know what to do without the police. 90% of its stories come directly from them.
Well, that's right. Most of it's press release journalism or PR journalism, which all gets scripted by those they're reporting on. So, a lot of it's based on perception management and
points,
and protecting the status quo. I mean, the media is just another one of the gatekeepers of information. They don't generally rebel against the system very much. They're part of it and funded by it and everything else. And
even when it looks like they are rebelling against it, David, it's just more posturing.
Yeah. So it's propaganda generally on the public. And
Golden West News, we're with you. And all this kind of shit, Come on. They don't care about the cities or whatever that they're based in any more than the local undertaker does. All they want is the business. Yeah,
and I mean, what about ownership of the corporate media? I mean, it's in so few hands now. It's been consolidating over decades. Passing into fewer and fewer hands. I think Disney is the biggest now in the world, but
I wouldn't really like to call it, David. I know that there's 3 or 4 or maybe 5 at the most corporations that dominate the majority of the media on the planet, and that's how consolidated it's really become. We're listening to the opinion, and the dominant opinion at that, of half a dozen maybe sociopathic oligarchs.
Yeah, like Murdoch, for example.
Well, I mean, even he's a gopher man, quite really, obviously. For the people that we never see, whose names we will never probably know. The only one we're ever allowed to get a handle on, as far as the smelly rich goes, is the children of Roth, the Rothschilds. They have been fingered as the most obvious trillionaires and movers and shakers.
Yep, and they own
others. There's got to be others that we don't know about.
Oh, sure. And yeah, a good point, because the Rothschilds own AP and Reuters. They're two of the biggest news makers in the world, and basically where the global news gets their stories from. I mean, anyone reporting global world news is usually getting it from AP reporters or Reuters. So so that's a lot of control. The news is rather homogenized on a global level in the Western world, at least, where all the big stories are broken from the same place and distributed out. Everyone else picks it up.
Actually, David, sorry to break in there. There's a couple of very interesting clips available on YouTube which demonstrate so clearly the media scripting that is through the entire so-called news industry. There's a part where Conan O'Brien has pushed the envelope.
Oh, yeah.
Every single commentator that had to talk about this particular issue used exactly the same lines. And then again, when they inverted commas, wanted to invade Iraq, John Howard and Stephen Harper became androids in a speech where they uttered exactly the same words.
Yeah, so you see the same agendas being played out in the media and politics really around the world. where the similarity in rhetoric and policy and all that kind of thing, you see it, same agendas in America, Britain, and Australia, from what I can see. And yeah, as you pointed out, there's clips on YouTube where a whole bunch of, I don't know how many, but stacks of reporters on different shows saying exactly the same thing, word for word, if not a slight variation on the sentence. So that demonstrates very clearly how it works. When everyone's saying the same thing, you just have this echo chamber, and on the other side we've got the alternative media, and
even that is being greedily surveyed by the usual suspects and swallowed up almost as soon as it pokes its head up.
Yeah, you've got there's alternative media or fake alternative media who get co-opted, or they're just controlled opposition and things like that, and they're always going to be around. But there's still, some genuine alternative media out there. There's, I think the best alternative media is the grassroots citizen journalist who gets out there with a camera or goes and researches their own stories. They've got their own blog, or they're part of a news hub or something. People at the grassroots putting things up that matter, and this is really
the power of the internet right there. That's why it's being censored, controlled, marshalled, if you like, by most governments around the world. Governments realise that that's how their citizens are going to be able to communicate with one another with real news rather than fake news, and they're so trying to demonise it through their controlled media. Every story that comes out about the internet is all to do with either pedophilia or terrorism or anything, and the usual throwaway joke about the funny YouTube thing or this tweet or that tweet. That it is usually marginalised, ridiculed, demonised, and sidelined by the mainstream media as much as possible to dissuade the majority from even going there.
Yeah, the message that's being put out by the mainstream media as far as the alternative media goes, or the information on the internet, is you can't trust them. You can only trust us.
Yeah.
We're professionals. We have the tools and the money and the whatever to bring you the news, and you should completely disregard any individual out there who claims to be making journalism who's not part of the mainstream.
That takes us on to that Feinstein filth, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. What we're seeing in the US, and this is also happening in Australia and Britain. Britain is openly doing it, and that is
loosely referred to as the West.
Loosely referred to as the West, is that, and I'm not commenting on other countries because I just don't know that well. Basically, if you're not a licensed journalist, if you're not a recognised professional, you don't have the right to be at press conferences. You don't get any protection. Because journalism. The so-called free press has enjoyed some protections in so-called free societies that they don't have to reveal their sources, secret sources and things. They have legal protections of, protected from prosecution for leaking information and things like that that is in the public interest. That they're not protected from things like libel and whatever, where they print. Well, they kind of are, but protected from ruining people's reputations and things like that through lies. But the thing is that with Feinstein they got this Shield Act trying to get through, where people who they're trying to distinguish who gets protected and who doesn't, and they don't believe that your Joe Blow blogger should be protected because they haven't been, they haven't got a degree, they haven't got, they're not with one of the major players, not with the mainstream. So yeah, but it's disgusting. Anybody should be able to report news, do whistleblowing, whatever. So they're excluding organisations like WikiLeaks. They're excluding anybody they don't see fit to recognise. And this is one of those things. When something is licensed, it means that they're granting you permission to do something that is otherwise illegal. And take driving, for example. According to the state, if you don't hold a license and all of that, then you're not allowed to drive. So this is where it goes with journalism when they start, talking about what credentials they'll recognise. They can turn around and say, well, you're not a proper news organisation, so we're just going to shut you down, sue you for, I don't know, where does it go? Sue you for impersonating a journalist or something?
Well, I've just pulled up an article here from, was it antiwar.com? This is from the 20th.
Great site.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's just the most recent one that I could find on Feinstein. Press must stop calling NSA spying surveillance. Senate Intelligence Committee Chairwoman and outspoken surveillance enthusiast Dianne Feinstein has demanded today during the committee hearing that the American press stop referring to the NSA surveillance programs as surveillance programs. During the comments, Senator Feinstein insisted that it was unfair of the media to the telephone surveillance scheme to refer to the telephone surveillance scheme as a surveillance program because it just collects metadata. Hilariously enough, Senator Feinstein
not even true, but yeah,
to the surveillance program as these surveillance programs in her own form letters sent to worried constituents, defending them for months. The change in rhetoric appears to reflect the NSA's own decision to stop talking so much about the program itself and instead angrily attack the media, claiming that American outrage over its privacy violations are simply a product of irresponsible media coverage of classified programs. There we go. Classified, secrets. You can't know. We can't tell you. It's too important. There's national security. You're too stupid. We know it all. You can't know anything.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this whole farce about, government being a public servant and supposedly we are the government. The people are the government. It's the people's government and all this kind of crap. They don't want you to know what they're doing. What does that tell you?
Well, you voted for them. It's your government. You wanted them. You voted for them. This is what I hear around me, when I try to criticise this motherfucking monster that's dominating the hell out of us. It's just like, oh, no, you voted. Well, I didn't.
I mean,
I won't ever again.
I mean, a lot of our listeners are pretty savvy, but for those that don't understand the game, it's a mind game. They get you to vote for them, so they can turn around and say, well, you voted for us, and everything we do, you gave us permission. We have your consent. So, what a joke.
Yeah, so we're going to send over some of these heavily armed thugs into places like Afghanistan, in Iraq, and any other place that Israel or America wants us to go, and we're just going to do that because you said we could.
Yeah, sure. We totally gave them permission. So, I mean, when it comes to the media, if they get to pick and choose, I mean, if we're the government, then we should be able to report on them. We should be able to go in and we shouldn't be paying them money to look at their documents either. There's this Freedom of Information Act. It's saying once again across the Western world.
So free. I still don't know who the fuck my father is, and I'm 52. Yeah, Freedom of Information Australia. Yeah. Yeah.
It's all. Rights have been turned into privileges. Journalism has been turned into a privilege, and this is something that they make a distinction on. They politicians will refer to what most reasonable people consider to be human rights. They turn around and say it's a privilege. If you want to be a journalist, then go to school and get your degree. And
well, ain't that funny? Because I've done just that. Actually, I've had two what they call humanities degrees for the best part of a decade now, David. And in that time, in this lucky country, I might have had 2 months' work.
Yeah, well, Baz, you're just not a team player, let's put it that way.
Well, not just any team, put it that way.
Well, you're a team player, but not working on their team, I guess you've got a little bit too much dignity for that.
Man, I'd sooner stay on the dole and be kicked off the dole and begging crumbs off the street than prostitute my mind for the filth known as mainstream media ever again.
Yeah. It reminds me actually of there's a lot of people, big groundswell questioning water fluoridation, wanting it out of the water. There's been some successes around the place, America, Australia, getting fluoride out of the water on a local level. And the backlash in the media has been, just sickening, to say the least. I'd point to Adelaide Now is a really good example. A journalist there named Tori, I can't remember her last name, who cares, but she basically started this series of articles in the newspaper and online, Adelaide Now, complete ad hominem, basically name calling of those who question and are resisting water fluoridation. Just calling them every name under the sun, just trying to undermine, just character assassination. Which is fine by the government, obviously, that is able to demonise and close down any site that it deems is doing things badly or wrong. But that's okay, that sort of thing, right? Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so, and it's funny, though, when these articles were published, you look in the comments section and she's just getting trashed. But she doesn't care because she's taken home the pay, mate. That's her job. Yeah. So she was just putting that shit and so forth. She has to have a hide like a fucking rhinoceros to sit there day after day abusing people and not giving a fuck how they feel about it. Yeah, it's all this just aggressive character assassination and no facts, nothing, just complete dribble attacking the opposition. This is journalism today. A lot of the time, it's perception management. That's all it is. These people are kooks. Don't listen to them. The Dental Association thinks it's good, and I don't question the Dental Association, even though they wouldn't know a damn thing about bone cancer or neurotoxins or anything like that. But anyway, fluoridosis, for goodness sake. They don't even know that the mottled teeth that they're looking at from dental fluorosis. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Only 40% of higher than 40% of young people under 18 in America in fluoridated areas have dental fluorosis. So, never mind. And it doesn't matter what facts you throw at people. At the journalists, at this particular journalist anyway. It doesn't matter what you put in the comments, all the scientific studies that you refer to. The agenda stays the same. And
David, that's really because I've worked in this industry. It's really because the majority of journalists are so self-censored and self-censoring. It's not funny. They know damn well what they can and can't write about. And as soon as they look at something, if they're given facts that they know won't fit into their newspaper, they just disregard them almost as soon as they're uttered.
Yeah, and you might have a bit of truth reported in the back pages from time to time, or
line 15 of the page 12 and so forth.
Yeah. They'll put a bit of they'll put some Easter eggs in there, but the opening paragraph, the conclusion, they're there to
and the headline,
they're there to give you a perception that you take away with, and they know you're not going to read the whole thing most of the time. You're going to grab the bits that stick out, and usually it's the first and last paragraph, and that is there to shape your opinion.
Well, like this, David, we had that whole pantomime of Obama trying to make his presidency relevant by saying he'd gone over and captured and killed Osama bin Laden. And that was hilarious because most of us knew that Osama had been dead for a decade or so anyway.
I don't know, but what I do know is that he's
been following it on the internet anyway.
Well, how many times has his death been reported anyway?
Lots, yeah. But Osama went over and cleaned it all up. No, Obama, sorry. The name slips sometimes. But here's a story from Paul Craig Roberts. Pakistani national TV reveals that Obama's claim to have killed Osama bin Laden is an American hoax. Okay, so this is the American hoax that's gone around the world. Most of the world is parroting it, and this is where it happened, okay? It happened in Pakistan.
Yeah.
By reader's request, this is a reposting of a translation of a Pakistani national TV interview with an eyewitness to the alleged SEAL Team 6 attack that allegedly killed Osama bin Laden. I made the translation available 2 years ago in an article prior to the creation of this website. Before you believe your government's lies about Syria, remember your government's lies about Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction. Remember Washington's lies about the Gulf of Tonkin that unleashed the Vietnam War. Remember the lies about Gaddafi and Libya. Remember the lies about 9/11, the lies about the murders of JFK, Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King. Remember the Northwoods Project and the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted President John F. Kennedy to embrace. The Northwoods Project called for shooting down US airliners, shooting down people on the streets of Miami and Washington, D.C., and strafing Cuban refugee boats in order to blame Castro and build public support for regime change in Cuba. Sound familiar?
Then there's the
regime change in Iraq, Libya, Syria.
Goes on and on and on.
Sorry.
You go right back to the sinking of the Maine as well, to start war with the Spanish in 1898 or something, I think it was, or the late 19th century anyway. It goes way back, and every war starts with a lie, and the media aid and abet that lie. The Gulf War, my God, what a load of jingo garbage that was, the first one and the second one.
Yeah.
It was just, and they got involved in the internet media, rah-rahing the invasion of Iraq and the attack of Iraq.
They used. I can remember studying it at the time in 2003 at uni. They were using text messages to tell all of the Iraqi soldiers to abandon their posts and so forth, and you're going to die and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and they had the internet memes as well going around. We didn't have Facebook back then, but they still got around all these, caption pictures of Saddam and, you know, how we got to get him and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, and I remember getting in chat rooms and everyone's just completely bloody mind controlled by the whole psyop and arguing for war like we needed to have it. This is second Iraq war. So yeah, look, it serves its purpose, and people get mind controlled by it all. They get, you know, bought into it, and they end up being pro-war. You know, it's just amazing. And it reminds me, actually, I made a meme. This is what really got me off on doing the Facebook stuff, and what really kind of validated, you know, what I was doing was I found out, and this was late last year, early this year, I came across the story, the facts on Martin Luther King, and the fact that his family successfully won a civil lawsuit that implicated the government in his assassination. Okay, and this is in 1999. And I only discovered it beginning of this year, and I'm late last year, and just went, what the hell? Why is this not common knowledge? Why, this is pretty newsworthy stuff, and it happened in 1999. No one knows about this, or hardly anyone anyway, that I didn't know, and I felt I was, reasonably well informed. And I was incensed, and so what I did, I spent 10 minutes making an internet meme, a picture with Martin Luther King on it, like he was chiseled into rock, a statue, and I put some text in along the lines of, did you know that Martin Luther King's family successfully proved to a jury in a civil court that the government was involved in his murder. Why not? Because the media is controlled and etc. So I made that meme up, and then I put it out, and I tell you what, it went mega viral. Like, it went crazy viral. In fact, it got picked up by a comedian, Lee Camp, who likes making YouTube videos, and you can find him on YouTube, Lee Camp, comedian, I think he calls himself. And he did a rant about based on the meme, and saying, basically that everyone knows about Kim Kardashian and whatever the hell is going on in her life. No one knows about this. This is disgusting. And that got about 30,000 hits in 2 days or something like that, or 3 days. So it's not like people didn't want to know. It's just that it wasn't, and then people, when I put the meme out there, some people would comment and go, oh, well, funny, you actually got this from a mainstream media source and all this kind of thing. The point is that, yes, okay, the New York Times reported it. I think it was New York Times, Washington Post, one of those. There was a couple of mainstream media that actually reported it. And it was not front page. It didn't get the same limelight as Kim Kardashian or any celebrity, celebrity taking drugs, or any superfluous, news that really has no bearing on reality, or, it's who cares stuff. It's gossip stuff. And that gets all the attention, the royal wedding, whatever, it's all, none of it matters what gets thrust in front of you. Yet you've got to really dig to find things like, it turns out the government was involved in MLK's assassination. So,
well, I mean, there's things like if you were to watch 5 million hours of Fox television, for instance, you might come across the Carl Cameron 4-part series on the Israelis to do with 9/11.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So if it's not right there on the end of your nose, screaming at you, you're not generally going to know about it unless you go looking for it. So this is how it works. This game. You might turn around and rightly say, well, it was reported in the mainstream media. I think you're being a bit harsh. But the truth of the matter is that nobody knows about it still, even though it was reported. So what does that tell you? It tells you that what they're putting the spotlight on, the main ring of the circus, is not useful information. And that's what they want to distract you with. They're still going to kind of, yes, we're going to stay legitimate by reporting real things, but we're just going to bury it, basically, and hope you don't even see it. That's how it works, folks. We, as alternative media people, me and Baz, who basically just do this from our house on the computer and internet connection.
Without pay.
Without pay, by the way, we're trying to do something about that and get some. We've got some merchandise and things like that. You can check out on www.
Bucks so far.
yeah, it's costing us money so far. But anyway, truthwillovercometyranny.com. We've got some banners there, and we've got some products on Zazzle basically to help fund our operation. We've got some other things we're implementing too. Some affiliate programs, sell some water filters, things like that, things that really, help people not just sell people crap that probably is going to do them in the end anyway. So
please visit our website and have a look at those things and get wearing them,
Yeah. This is the thing. I mean, the mainstream media, CNN and all that, they get money from the government direct for putting certain stories out there, reporting things in a certain way. And that's a fact, folks. Like CNN is totally, not totally government funded. I shouldn't say totally, but it is government funded. And MSNBC, the ABC here in Australia is completely state run. So they know which side of the bread which side their bread's buttered on.
David, I just want to interrupt here. There's a few people in the chat room, and I'm not quite sure how to operate that in the studio. So would you mind having a look in there? And I'll just mention. I'll just talk a little bit about how TWOT began and so forth.
Oh, please, yeah, that's right. You see, I've Can you hear me? Hello?
What happened there?
Can you hear me? Okay, I have no idea. Sorry, I was just going to say, just set this up for you. Basra had a magazine, a print magazine that he started up, and go ahead, Baz.
I was back in the day. I was lining up for, just completing my second university degree in my mid-40s. And I was a little bit concerned as I was coming out the other end of the degree that there wasn't much work for me to look for as a qualified, what was I doing? Creative industries, a qualified journalist or someone working in the media. And so there just wasn't really much around. In Bunbury, there's a town of 40 or 50,000. There's a radio station, there's a television station, and there's a couple of newspapers, but they're all pretty much closed shops. And people who can draw, illustrate, paint, write creatively, get people to think, etc., are not really given much of opportunity in the industry. They might get a little bit of a work as a cartoonist or be able to provide a photo or something like that. But generally, people who are able to think outside the box don't get a look in.
No
and so
way.
I started to. I came up with the idea of starting a volunteer-based magazine that would, feature contributions from the people that I went to uni with, and I sought contributions from artists and writers, and started networking, and after a period of months, I finally got a hub together of people who were interested, and we started to look for a name. But then, that was interesting because that was the first, what would you call it, thing that I bumped my head against was trying to find a name, because corporations have swallowed up most of the dictionary. So if you want to call your magazine or television station or whatever something, it becomes an odyssey to try and find a name that isn't already pre-owned by one of the big few corporations. So I wanted to call my magazine Emit, which would have been time backwards.
Ah, yeah, yep.
But some, university over in Eastern States somewhere had a magazine called that, and so I couldn't do that. And so I kept on thinking and searching on the internet and this and that. And I came across one day a lecture that John Pilger had given at the University of Western Australia. And it was a long title to this lecture, but it was probably 12 words or something like that, but it was all in sentence caps. And if you're familiar with sentence caps means that each word in a sentence is spelt with a capital letter. And so the last 4 words of the Pilger lecture were the War on Terror. And that was the first time I'd seen it sort of capitalised like that, and immediately leapt out at me as an acronym saying TWOT. So that just, I did that. I cracked up. I was laughing at myself. I said, what can I do with that? What can I do? Well, I guess I could name my magazine that. I mean, I'm pretty sure that no corporations got that name, and so I went down to the department the next day, and I said, okay, I think I got my name. I want to call it TWOT. And what? Yeah, I wrote it down and all that.
Sure.
Yeah, sure enough, no one else had it, and so then I began to try and work with my university friends with that name, and of course, because I've been at university, which is the stomping ground of political correctness, etc., the feminazis were right off the idea of calling an alternative magazine TWOT.
Why does that surprise me?
And so I had to fight that battle for quite a period of time until I came up with the idea of changing the acronym each issue. So, sure, okay, TWOT, if at one remove could be considered as a part of female anatomy, and they don't want that somehow aligned with the war on terror, because it's not a terrifying thing. It's not a terrible thing, really, at all. And so I understand that. And so the next one I call The Wonderful Old Trees. And the one after that I call The Way Others Think. And then after I went broke and decided to go on the internet and call TWOT 4 Troubled Waters of Today. And so I started blogging and so forth on MySpace and building up an audience and so forth until MySpace lost its relevance and everyone got sort of herded into Fastbook about 5 or 6 years back, as I prefer to call it Fastbook, because it's a bit of a farce knowing that it's a CIA op and yet we've got to put ourselves out on it. And so, and so when I got to Fastbook, I renamed it Truth Will Overcome Tyranny, and then, as you know, finally I got one friend after another, and then I get people like David Lopez come along who have different skills than me, and that can put my ideas up on the internet in an effective manner as a website, and then we can go in and start our own Facebook group, Truth Will Overcome Tyranny, and that's grown to over 700 or so in few months, and so that's all very satisfying. That's where we're at now.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and this is the whole new media direction that things are taking. Now, we take the example of Basra's print magazine. Now, what became of that? I mean, it basically fell over through,
lack of
expenses.
Really, mate.
Exactly. Yeah. It was hard to get a print media readership from nothing.
Man, even the fucking artists whose stuff I was representing in it, even the writers, the blooming creative writers, they fucking wouldn't even buy it, mate.
Yeah.
I got 50 copies to one bastard that I haven't seen in 10 years since, and I never saw a cent for it.
Yeah, it's like that. People just... It's funny with print media, because there is some print media that's given away. It's free, like the transport.
That's what they expect. They expect the the drum sort of thing,
Yeah. And they kind of expect, like, with newspapers, for example, okay, they sell newspapers, but they don't cover their costs through selling the newspapers. They make their money in the advertising. And so what's really difficult is, you've got to have a circulation for the advertising to be worth anything to the advertiser. And I guess in alternative media, the kind of subject matter that you were trying to talk about, which was, a lot of taboo stuff like the war, the war on terror is a load of shit, and that kind of stuff, which is back in, the mid-2000s, is that right?
Yeah.
How long did it run for?
2 years.
2 years, yeah. And yeah, there was a gap in the media that you were filling, but from a commercial point of view, it's bloody hard to do.
From a commercial point of view, no one would buy it and no one would advertise it. Several people would admire it and so forth, but even many of those wouldn't even buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, that's great. Good for you. Good job. Oh, no, I don't have any money. But
hang on, I'll see you down the pub.
Yeah. So print media is hard to get into. You need a lot of money behind you. The marketing is difficult. People don't value magazines a whole lot. Like they'll, it's something you've got to store. Like if people become enthusiasts in something and they buy the magazine, they subscribe, and they end up with a big stack of magazines, and then down the track it's like, what do I do with them all? They're taking up space. Am I going to, try and sell them off or dump them or whatever? So yeah, I mean, I've been in the second-hand dealing trade a bit as well, in books and stuff, and magazines. Used magazines, secondhand, whatever, are really hard to move. You're just looking for that rare enthusiast that wants them all, wants to complete their collection or something. And anyway, but now we have the internet, and this just makes the overheads. I mean, there's still overheads, but they're minuscule compared to trying to get stuff printed.
That's right, David. It cost me $2,500 for a print run, and each time I tried to do a print run of TWOT. No one would give me any help, hardly. I know one guy did give me some. Guy Martin Burns Furnishing was one of the few decent local businesses that actually put his hand in his pocket during that 2.5 years. And so yeah, he's still in business. So I don't mind giving him a plug anyway, because that was one of the few people who actually believed in the idea and put a few bucks into it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, well, you'll always have a few, but or a benefactor or somebody who wants to put something in because they really do believe in your cause and things like that. But yeah, I don't see print media as being effective anymore. I think it's dying, to be honest. I don't think it's completely dead, and I think it has its purpose, but I think it works better in conjunction with an online presence, if anything. Like what Infowars are doing now. They're doing a magazine.
Well, I actually wanted to do that in the first place, David, and I was trying to I did have an internet presence at the same time as the magazine, but I didn't really have anyone terribly capable doing it, and I didn't have the money to keep funding it, and it fell into a hole somewhere.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, I mean, it's great experience, though. I mean,
well, that's it. I now really know that
even if
it is a closed shop. I have the experience behind me, and there is no way I can be co-opted anymore. Even after that, they did try to co-opt me, actually. The West Australian newspaper pretended it was going to start a social media network about 6 or 7 years back. After TWOT had fallen in a hole, I applied for this job, and I got it as what they call it, a news advocate or something, social media advocate or something like that, and wandered around and got people to send in their own reports to the local newspaper and their photos and stuff like that. And within a couple of weeks, me and the few staff that were appointed to it really had this thing humming, and we had people actually talking about Centrelink and Telstra and all the things that really piss Australians off. And it got shut down, didn't it?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I can see what
within 10 weeks, and I've had 5 days employment since.
Yeah. Yeah. And doesn't that point out how the media is so one way, the mainstream media, that is? They don't want, they want your opinion and stuff on an article, but within limits. And I don't see that they are that interested in what you really think unless it's within a certain parameter. If you're outside of their status quo, you're a lunatic, pretty much. And they'll let you post there as a lunatic, but they'll pretty much make sure that they've got people to, reply to your comments and tell you what a lunatic you are. Or if you're complaining about Centrelink, that maybe you should just get a job and shut the fuck up or whatever.
Oh yeah. What the hell are you doing talking? You haven't even got a job. You got no fucking right at all.
No, your opinion is completely unimportant if you're unemployed. But I'm just saying that from the perspective of the media.
Yeah,
but yeah, so no, they want to shape your opinion. They don't want to really hear.
They don't want to listen to it.
Opinions outside their own spectrum, Yeah, which is interesting. As far as where the money is, as far as alternative, and the money being sucked out of the mainstream media. As I said, a lot of them are dependent on government handouts now to stay in business, or they were, and they get paid to do propaganda pieces and things like that. They get paid to do advertorials, which is basically making a business look good that probably shouldn't.
I did that for a while.
Yeah, right. Yeah, advertorials, eh?
Oh.
Yeah, good fun.
Corporate kiss ass.
Yeah, so the newspapers, the print newspapers are struggling. Like they've one of the major newspapers here, the Broadsheet, the Australian, that got turned into a tabloid from a broadsheet, save on paper and all that.
Could be turned into an origami.
Yeah, they fun, those broadsheets to handle on a train or something.
Yeah,
but the money's gone out of the advertising for print, certainly with newspaper, and they're feeling it. Like they're definitely feeling the pinch there. They've moved online. They're trying out these subscription models and things like that. Advertising. The advertising. A lot of them do Google AdSense now, which is Google advertising on newspapers, which is interesting. But the thing is, where they used to get tens of thousands for an ad in the newspaper, they're getting less, and online.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah, and online they're getting a lot less in the aggregate as well, because they just can't charge as much as they did with the print. So they'll get paid.
That's going to hit the bottom line a little, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. And the the result has been even poorer quality journalism, less journalists, less news and more news aggregation, more getting news from these central places like AP and Reuters and stuff like that, or just doing press release versions of news. So there's far less investigative journalism going on in the mainstream media. So yeah, and seriously, if you're looking over the news these days, you'll find that's the case. It's just
what you will find if you're looking over the news and you're talking mainstream news here is mostly what they call now scary scenarios. We're finding the weather actually is now dominating the news. And who, interestingly enough, owns the weather channels?
Oh, well, that Rothschild once again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're you know, I think that it suits the central controllers, the central scrutinizers, the they, them, those, the globalists to have it this way, to get the news media lean and mean and just spewing forth.
Well, it's just another form of entertainment of bread and circus, really, isn't it? It's just like I call them musicians. They're you know, a cross between well, they're a communicator of some description, but they don't communicate news. They have some form of entertainment, or real minuscule entertainment value, but a lot of people go with it and watch it because they, I don't know. So they don't want to think for themselves or something.
Yeah, well, it's like it was Brzezinski that said that we need to get it to the point, and we're pretty much there, where the news, you know, the mainstream media makes your opinion for you. You know, basically people don't have their own opinions or whatever. They just get given their choices as far as opinions go by the media, and it's you're going to choose the socialist version or the right wing whatever version. So
we've got a caller, David.
We do have a caller. Let's put him on. Yeah. Hey, caller, how's it going there?
Definitely a her, not a him.
Oh, hello. Sorry. Hello, who have we got here?
You've got Melissa from London.
I thought it was Melissa.
G'day, Melissa. So we're talking about the media today. What do you think about all that?
Well, that interests me entirely because I come from a media background.
Oh, yeah.
And
what is your background, Melissa?
What is my background? Gosh, where to start? Music graduate, masters in music for composing for TV and film, worked at the BBC.
Oh, yeah.
BBC.
I'm going through an argument because I don't want to pay my TV license at the moment. I think mainstream media is absolute nonsense. I think it is mind manipulation for the lazy masses, and it's towing the party line.
Yeah, it's funny what you said before. I've got to try my BBC voice. Okay, I'll give it a go.
Go on, do your RP.
You're listening to the BBC. Something like that. Anyway, so you worked.
I'm sure Melissa could do a better job, but yes, good one, Dave.
Yeah, you probably would. The BBC, basically, you guys have to pay a license to watch TV.
We have to pay £145.50 per year for a colour television.
Okay.
Well, don't watch it. Well, I agree, don't watch it. Absolutely agree. But where...
No, but what I mean, Melissa, love, is if you didn't watch it and didn't have a TV, would you still have to pay that license?
No, but you'd have to prove that you don't.
Yeah.
So you have to prove that you don't have a television squirreled away in a room somewhere.
Yeah. There's a grey area here because if you watch iPlayer, for example, which means you can watch programs that aren't in live time, you can watch them for free all over the world. So anyone, whether it's America, Australia, or wherever, can watch iPlayer programs. And the whole premise is that you have the BBC, because there's no advertising, you have to pay the fee. So if you approach them and you say to them, I don't watch BBC, I watch other subsidised channels through advertising, they still make you pay it. It's a highway tax. It's a highwayman tax.
I've seen a video of police and some crony turn up to someone's house wanting to look in his house for a TV, and there's basically these two blokes at the front door live there, telling him to rack off, and basically using common law and all that kind of stuff to turn them away, saying, well, you don't have any right to be coming into my house so that I can prove that I'm not committing a crime. You've got to have evidence that I've actually committed a crime, and all this sort of stuff. So there's this standoff going on. Ended up turning them away, and they left. He could, convince them that what they were doing was, they couldn't do it. But I find that fascinating, and it's again all that innocent until proven guilty until proven innocent.
What they do here is they convince you to pay in a certain manner. So even if you're willing to pay, if you don't want to pay the way they say you pay, then it's not going to work. So they want you to pay by either upfront in full for a year, or they want you to pay 2 months every month. So if you broke down the £145.50 over 12 months, it'd be about £12.12 per month. What they want you to pay is double that for the first 6 months. So they constantly have 6 months extra in their bank account creating interest. So if you then...
To me that sounds like extortion, Melissa.
It is extortion. So then if you leave your license and say you don't wish to have one anymore, they owe you 6 months' money and they'll pay it back. So ultimately... I've found their bank details and paid them just for the month. And they're not happy one little bit, because if it's not on their terms, they don't want to know. And it's run by Capita. Do you have Capita in Australia?
No, I can't say I know that.
Not familiar.
Capita runs everything, everything that is revenue building through social context, whether it's media or without, Capita runs.
They're the big rent seekers on this one.
Well, not just on TV, on everything.
Okay.
Fines, prisons, the lot.
Okay. Okay. I thought it was Serco.
Over here it's Serco.
No, we have Capita. I guess they're the equivalent, I guess.
Yeah,
probably
be joined at the hip somewhere along the line, Melissa.
Yeah, bed buddies.
Yeah. Look, there's an interesting thing going on in the chat room. There's a couple of people there that are suggesting that we should really also mention Comet ISON, because the mainstream media isn't, and also the peculiarity with the moon in recent weeks.
This is all over the top of my head. What's the premise of this stuff?
What? Yeah,
Comet ISON.
A comet, okay. Sorry, if you know something about it, let us know.
There's some comet that's in our vicinity, in Earth's vicinity at the moment, and it's supposed to be crossing into our atmosphere in coming days and so forth, and it's supposed to be affecting the weather in dramatic ways.
Okay.
And also, I've noticed, and lots of other Fastbook friends have noticed similarly, that the moon is really difficult to spot these days, and I know that there's been so much chem bombs and chemical muck in the sky that it's kind of hard to see either the sun or the moon a lot of days and nights, but it's just been really weird lately trying to look for a moon, or the moon. I mean, maybe it's been too small or whatever, or maybe someone else can call in that knows a little bit more about it than I. There's people in the chat room telling us to search YouTube videos and shit like that, but we're doing a show. We're not going to go searching for shit. So if you want to call in and tell us more, if you know more, please feel free to do so, because they're not talking about the weather.
We had the most amazing harvest moon. It was absolutely incredible.
Just last night or something?
Mind-blowing. Sorry?
When was that? Last night?
No. About a week, 10 days ago, the harvest moon.
Oh, yeah. A
It's
week
a
or
blue
10 days
moon.
ago, I saw moon as well, but I haven't seen the moon for the last 3 or 4 nights.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm still getting the moon.
We've had some crazy storms in Melbourne and in Australia. In Melbourne this week, it's just been massive.
And the other side of the country, in the west, we've had torrential rain nearly every night for the last week. We had any in winter, and now it's supposed to be spring. Third week of spring is more like winter.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've been having trouble spotting the moon, mainly because it's raining at the time, so whole sky is covered. So anyway, yeah.
I'm afraid I am a chemtrail believer, and I've witnessed it, and I've documented it, and I've watched it for probably the last 4 or 5 years, and I've observed it,
I
taken
believe it
photos,
too.
and it's not even a belief system; it's happening. And it is weather manipulation, and there's a fine line between climate change and global warming, and the two things are completely different. And I would just personally like to know why they're doing it. And if there is no bad intent, speak up. We're all paying for it. Who's paying for it? It's a massive industrial complex program.
Yeah. If there's nothing wrong, it's like everything the government does. If it's no big deal, then tell us about it. But yet we just don't deserve to know, and we're all in a social engineering laboratory.
Yeah, it is geoengineering, and we're being sprayed by aluminium, barium, and all sorts of really negative stuff. And then they spend the whole time saying we're all getting older, and then Alzheimer's is on the increase, and it's affecting everybody's brainwaves, and it's not good. But in the same
and nothing will grow
so
anymore.
is Wi-Fi.
Yeah, then there's Wi-Fi. Oh man, there's so many angles we're getting hit on, and all of it seems to be somehow bad for our health. How about that? The Wi-Fi and that, I just go, wow. There's so many bandwidths and spectrums and different radio frequencies you can use, but we picked the one that kills plants. Why is that?
EMF, mobile phones cause brain tumours.
Yeah, which they spend a lot of money.
Cause brain tumours.
Yes, it's worth repeating that, Melissa. That really is. And I might add that if you have one of these mobile phones, please stop using it after 2 minutes. Make all of your calls 2 minutes or less, because after 2 minutes, that handpiece is heating up and it's beginning to break down your blood-brain barrier.
Yeah, and
I know, but that's
hands-free.
Never going to happen. Well, no, but that's never going to happen. I mean, even your home phone these days is wireless, and walk-around phone that heats up, and you can feel your head burning.
They're actually 10 times worse than the mobiles, Melissa.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah, when I'm on the phone,
generation of children as well that are holding, PDAs and phone devices in their hands, playing games, whatever, and then you hold them afterwards and they're burning, and these are in hands, little kids' hands, and by little kids' heads. It's fucked up.
It is totally foobar.
Yeah, I usually end my phone calls around 2 minutes or so. Usually, I can feel my head warming up, and I can feel it doing something to my brain, and I go, look, it's getting a bit hot. The phone's getting hot. I've got to go. That's what I tell people. But and I've got to use the hands-free more.
I remember working in the media when mobiles were first out, and I was working in the music industry, and there were managers, so they're constantly on the phone, touring, and I know of at least 3 of them that within 5 years had brain tumours.
Wow. There you go,
and there
folks.
was nothing else they
there.
could associate it to. Well, it's the EMF, the radiation, electromagnetic fields, for those that need to know.
Yep.
And
then that leads me on to think about cannabis oil. But anyway, I guess back to the media thing, and it's great to have you on as someone who's worked for the BBC. I mean, is there anything you'd like to add as far as some of the shenanigans that the BBC get up to? Any sort of flat out lies or misinformation that they're putting out there?
I'm really interested in the policies and the culture of the place, Melissa, too. Yeah.
All I can say is it's got a terrible reputation.
Yeah, right.
And the main media reputation, the one that's being exposed at the moment, is well needed to be exposed. As an organisation to work for, it's not pleasant, but it's the same as any.
You had some real kooks working for them, like. You had Jimmy Savile and people like that working for them. There seemed to be
that wasn't in my time. I'm not that old.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a while ago. Don't want to age you too much.
But I mean, the whole thing is
interesting.
built.
The kind of characters
the whole thing is built on lies. I mean,
what's the state-run agency?
Well, it is. So they have best practice meetings for the sake of best practice, and it's all full of crap. And I remember helping volunteer for the Children in Need phone-ins, and that was another crock of shit. And at
what
the moment,
was that about?
Well, Children in Need, it's an outpouring of making the whole nation feel guilty to raise money for kids in need, when the whole organisation, not the whole, that's a very big generalisation, when there's a large percentage of the organisation that has looked the other way when there are serious paedophilia issues going on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder if it continues. I mean, yeah. I mean, so the Savile days were quite some time ago, but... did that culture move on or whatever? I guess it's
no, I think it's very much of the time. Things were different then. I don't know.
Sure.
I mean, I wasn't involved even at that point, so I don't know.
Well, it's still going to be a compartmentalised thing anyway, because
I still think blackmailing a whole nation to pay a licence fee just to have a television in their room, when the television is really part of the problem, not the solution, is blackmail by guile,
I think it's hilarious, and it's kind of like how Australia runs Australians by forcing them to vote.
Yeah, we got compulsory voting here.
We got compulsory voting, and you got compulsory TV licensing, and it has a similar effect, actually.
Well, yes, because it's mass manipulation and mind control.
And no wonder the BBC...
I love the fact the BBC actually tries to sell itself having such an impartial ability to tell the news. It's not the case.
Well, this is the thing that I hear from the left, right, is people on the left side of politics, is that government-run media somehow is purer and better quality than commercial television. Which is hilarious. It is. It really is.
Well, it's propaganda. It's state-run TV.
Oh my God! You should see the shit on ABC.
Oh yeah,
it's on there right now. It would be right now. It's called The Insiders. It's with this jerk called Barry Cassidy. I call him Barack Cassidy. My God, these gatekeepers come on and occupy an hour or two of the television with their total fucking bullshit about what is not going on in Australia.
Well, there's another show on the ABC called The Drum, and that's just the political,
drum beat the status quo.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It's quite ironic. It's quite Orwellian, the name, in a way, but or not very. It's pretty transparent. Basically, you've got a panel of pundits, media pundits, who sits there, political media pundits, who sits there and just manage people's perceptions, just talk in empty platitudes, talk about issues, or pretend to discuss issues, basically, and just give you straight up give you your opinions and expect you to go parrot them off. But the thing with the perception with state media versus commercial media is state-run media has no ads, and ads are annoying, and that somehow lends more credibility to the state-run media because they're not trying to sell you stuff. And people go, oh, well, these guys are better.
That's exactly how it rolls, David, yeah.
Yeah, basically. And that, because I know that, because that's how I used to think. You know, I watched the ABC because it didn't have ads and it wasn't trying to sell me trash all day.
No, it's even worse in some ways.
Well, it is, because
it is selling you trash.
Yeah, it's selling you political trash.
Yeah. Exactly. It's not even objective. And it's so pious and up its own arse because its agenda is so predisposed.
Socialist, really? Yeah.
Well, there is a place for socialism, but I wouldn't say the BBC is socialist.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I'd say, well, as far as a lot of the agendas, you know, things like, you know, the government owns your kids, and that's a good thing, you know, and things like that. Those kind of that kind of rhetoric that the BBC tends to put out, you know, using the word socialism can be misleading. There is a definition for it, and a lot of people don't see it as, you know.
Well, quite often
certainly wouldn't call the BBC socialism.
What's that? Sorry.
I certainly wouldn't call the BBC socialism.
Fair enough. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, as far as one thing I wanted to bring up was an alternative media website that is really leading the charge as far as traffic, eyeballs, you know, almost a kingmaker of mainstream news to some extent now.
Infowar?
And that's well, there's that. I was going to say
David Icke's new channel.
The Drudge Report is what I was going to bring up, and what's interesting about that site is just how simple it is. You know, it's a white page. It's got a little bit of Google ads or something on it, but it's all just headlines. Okay, that he's sort of rewritten the headlines, and he links out to. They're just links to news articles. Okay,
there's loads of that about before it's news. There's loads of it.
Yeah, well, I'm doing the same on the Facebook group.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what everybody's trying to do, get their opinion across in their way.
Yeah, and it's very simple a concept that he's got there, but he gets, like, it's actually worth hundreds of millions of dollars, this website, even though all it is him sitting there plugging links. And he sends so much traffic to those articles. It's incredible. But it's, the domain's been valued, drudgereport.com, and it's apparently worth hundreds of millions in...
I know, but that really pisses me off because it's hijacking the truth for commercial gain, and it really fucks me off. David Icke's been doing this campaign, hasn't he, to raise money to make his own TV channel.
Yeah. Okay.
As has Anthony Hilda.
Sorry?
Yes.
As has Anthony Hilda.
Yeah, there's a load of people doing it, and part of me is totally torn on this subject because it's important to have independent journalism and get things out there, but at some point, what's the difference between somebody doing it for their personal gain or somebody doing it for humanity's gain? You know, it's a grey area, isn't it?
Well, I think a balance can be achieved there, and I think that you know, there's a lot of antipathy or whatever to commercial gain, to trade or commercial.
Oh, who's just making money out of it?
Yeah.
Everyone needs to make a living. We all need to survive, but
Well, like yourself, Melissa, and I haven't been surviving too well for a long, long time because of the nature of the workforce.
Yeah, and I think that, like, look at Infowars. You brought them up. I think they're a great example, and a lot of people point at them and go, "Oh, they're just selling stuff." What about all the ads and things? And we're back to that paradigm of, state media becomes superior because it doesn't have ads, and therefore we should listen to them rather than the commercial stuff, which is I think falling into a fallacy. Because the state media is force funded. They're actually stealing money to bring out the news, while at least
they're not even stealing it. They're blackmailing you.
Yeah. I mean, the ABC. Well, over in Britain, you've got the license, the TV license that funds the BBC. In Australia, it just comes straight out of our income tax. So we pay. Yeah, absolutely. It's funded through taxation. So
ABC and SBS, etc. Hey.
Yeah, and I gather the same thing happens with I think it's NPR or whatever the state media is in America. So I think that's worse than, say, commercial media because you don't have a choice whether you're funded or not. The market has nothing to do with whether it's successful or not.
So even if you say you don't have a TV and you don't watch TV, you still have to pay because they've already deducted it? Is that right?
Yeah, because they just take it out of your productivity, your tax, your income tax. So directly funded from that, or taxation generally, at least general revenue. So they get earmarked this much money, they get a budget and whatever, and whoever holds the purse strings, of course.
Shit that you don't want.
Yeah. So, I definitely prefer, the market to decide what people want. People deciding what they want by throwing money at it or not. And I think what Infowars is doing is good. They couple a lot of flack, you're commercial and you're trying to sell things. They're able to expand their operation as a result of successfully selling things.
Commerciality isn't the problem. I just don't like being shouted at. I don't like the delivery.
Yeah, I don't like
exactly. A lot of people don't.
I feel shouted at by Alex Jones.
The police are at your door now.
Yeah.
Every night. It's like in your face, but not in a positive way.
Exactly. I don't like the idea of being put in a state of fear. I appreciate Infowars. I appreciate what they do, and they have a lot of good news. And there's different ways that you can actually, get the information from them as well. You can get it through written articles, videos. You can listen to Alex Jones rant on his radio show and stuff. Mate, it's great value sometimes, though, I must say myself. I like his rant.
I don't know. I'm in two minds about him. I don't know.
I wouldn't take it in all day, though.
How legitimate it really is. I don't know who he's working for.
Sure, and that's a good thing to keep in mind. I mean, any news out there, even us, ask yourself, what's our agenda? What do we do? I'll tell you, our agenda is more freedom, less tyranny, and we try and just put it in, articulate that, basically, articulate the ideas of freedom and how they're superior to, living like a slave, or just, not questioning authority and stuff. So anyway, yes,
Have you come across Chunky Mark and the taxi driver and the Sucks Clock
News?
I
have. Yes, I was going to ask you. He's fantastic.
So what do you think
I
of
like
him?
him. Oh, I think he's fantastic. I think, a lot of what he said...
He's also very shouty.
Yes, he's very shouty. Yeah, exactly. and he lets rip on... Yeah, he just lets rip. And, for those who don't know, the artist taxi driver, otherwise known as Chunky Mark on YouTube, is a London taxi driver, and he's got a dash cam in his cab, and he just parks it and just lets rip into the camera. And he'll talk about whatever the latest topics are, the new, between the lines of propaganda in the news, and sometimes he goes right off, like, especially when he gets into the Queen and the royal family. It is so funny. Like she's got hooves. she clicks her hooves together and rapes children, and he really gets into it. Some of it's a bit fantastical and out there, but when he's talking about, say, bankers and politicians and what they're up to and the laws they're passing, it's just another. This is a great thing about the alternative media, is there's all these creative ways to get messages out there.
Well, he had a bit of a coup, didn't he, when he had Max Kaiser. Who else did he have in the back of his cab over the demonstration?
He's had
Watford.
Max Kaiser and Alex Jones in his cab at the same time.
That's it. They were both in the back of the cab. That
sounds
quite
tad contrived, guys.
What's that?
That does sound a tad contrived.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely, without doubt, but we're not stupid.
Yeah.
Take it away.
And obviously prearranged that to happen, Oh, we both happen to jump in the same cab as the mad, artist taxi driver. But,
you have to take it at that level. You have to take it for commercial value only,
Yeah.
Max Kaiser said virtually nothing.
Just he just sat there grinning and giggling to himself. Yeah. I think he arranged it.
It was more like a comedy sketch, really, wasn't it? But there you go.
Yeah. And Chunky Mark, is a comedy sketch. He's the artist taxi driver. It is art what he does,
Which is exactly why the mainstream is now delivering some forms of truth through a guy like Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Do you think they're delivering it through Russell Brand, or are you saying that Russell Brand isn't the real deal and he's just
I don't really think he could be, but he could be the real deal. But
do you think it's just for his own agenda?
Those sort of people generally get shut down. I don't know why they're allowing him to clown around with so much truth on the mainstream, unless they want us out there being angry about it and protesting.
Oh, I don't know about him,
he's a good guy. I really do,
I don't know much about him. Apparently he used to be on heroin or something, and then he found himself again and really put himself out there, and now he's entertaining.
Well, the fact that he was with Katy Perry, who's fairly evidently sold her soul somewhere along the way, made me
an Illuminati sellout.
Yeah. But you can, guilt by association doesn't quite cut it. But yeah.
No, fair enough, Dave. I'm with you there too.
Yeah. But yeah, it's hard to say. So anyway, what I was saying about the alternative media, the people, the cutting edge, say Drudge Report, say Infowars, David Icke, is that they are also bringing a lot of traffic to mainstream websites. They're commanding large audiences. They
absolutely are
influencing the news.
They absolutely are. But is that to bring it to a critical mass and then debunk it altogether, or is that actually the vibration of mass awakening? Who knows? Could go either way, couldn't it?
It could.
Who's playing whose strings? Who's pulling what strings?
And a lot of people, what I see happen is people get onto, say, Alex Jones or something like that, and who, the people who are screaming at him, and offering them, some of those basics like the false flag data and all that kind of stuff, getting that out there, and then. From my experience, I became a Prison Planet subscriber. I'd listen to Alex Jones's radio show at work as I'm doing my computer stuff, and it was very depressing and got me angry, and my blood pressure was up and all that kind of stuff. And then it's like, okay, I know, because Alex Jones is there, he's thumping the desk, he's going, government bad. No, you don't understand. Government bad. It's really bad. It's really, 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 really bad. And how many reallys do you need before you okay, it's bad. I know.
Yeah, but at times it makes the individual critical thinker absolutely dissuade what he's trying to say, because I don't know, he sort of turns off the intelligent thinker, and it becomes like the mainstream media, where they're playing to the lowest common denominator at all times. And it comes to a point where you just get sick of being talked down to, and like you're stupid.
Yep.
And the mainstream media is exemplary at it. And I sometimes find with Alex Jones, he does the same. Like, we're all dumb.
Well, it's fear-based, and it's fear-based.
I take it some people, some new people wake up every day, Yep. So they need to start at the beginning, but it is a bit patronising.
Yeah,
it can be, and he'll get frustrated.
He's the sort of guy that can almost talk down to Alan Watt. He'll jump at Alan Watt's trying to say shit.
Oh no, I think he was well with his face. Alan Watt's great, and I'd highly recommend cuttingthroughthematrix.com and listening to his podcast. Alan Watt really does lay it out. It's not cheerful, but it's not shouting either. He just lays it out. Who?
Red Creation.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to check him out.
A radio station. They're
radio station, yeah.
Good things to say, yeah. They're
that was Red Ice you were talking about, wasn't it?
Yes. Sorry, thank you, Barbara. Yeah. Corrected me. Red Ice Creation. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I have to check that out. Max Kaiser's good value as far as the economic stuff goes.
Freeman does some good stuff.
Freeman?
Who?
Freeman Fly, you got to see some of his stuff. It's excellent.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and of course we're making our own media. I hope you enjoy what we're creating. And yeah, we just need more people. This is the thing. If you're not happy with Alex Jones, even Alan Watt, anybody else that if you have a different way to get the truth out, do it. Get on a broadcast. Do podcasting. Get on something like blogtalkradio.com or one of the others out there and do a radio show like we're doing. See, I got to the point where, okay, I'm taking in all this information all the time, and I'm convinced government's bad, and I know why, and I know how, and the why and the how and all that. I can't keep this to myself, and not everyone's going to go to Alex Jones and get the information I got, or go to somewhere else, listen to someone else and get that stuff. A lot of people, my friends and things, they're not interested in any of this stuff. They don't go looking for it anyway. The fact that I'm involved in this is bringing some attention, to it in their lives, because I'm doing this and they happen to know me. So, there's that sort of thing. So, it's one thing to sit around and criticise alternative media or even mainstream media and say, this is, I don't like this guy or that guy, the way he delivers his thing. Find someone you're more comfortable with, or start your own media and write your own articles, do your own radio show, all that stuff. The more of us that are out there, the more people can be reached, and we hack off another branch of the mainstream media by stealing their viewership, by stealing not stealing them, but giving them somewhere else to go, because they know most people know that the mainstream is full of.
That's what it is. It's not about stealing.
Yeah.
It's about giving people an alternative, and another person that has to be commended for the work he's done. And again, I don't know his agenda, his personal agenda, but to this date, the work he's done has been sterling, and that's Luke Rudowski.
Oh, yeah, he's great. From wearechange.org.
Yeah.
Did he found that, or was one of the founders? One of the first people.
Commended.
Absolutely. What I love about Luke is that he's fearless, for one thing, utterly fearless, and he gets in the face of the elites. He actually confronts them with a camera and goes, "We know what you're doing.
And he has
this is what you're doing."
a really rational, good manner, and he gets to the heart of the story because he makes people uncomfortable without intimidating them. And I think he has a very good journalistic style.
He's very
a beacon for independent media.
Yeah, he's great. He's out there on the ground, in their face, and respectful about it too. Like, he's not calling them every name under the sun and saying you're going to hang and whatever else.
He's not shouty.
Yep, he lets them know. We can see you, and you're not going to win. And that's.
But he's calm and he's considered and he's professional. So credit where credit's due.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a good example for everyone out there. And the other thing is, just grabbing a camera and going out and filming things. You're always going to get a cut down, edited, sanitized, and probably lopsided report from the mainstream media, even if they're on the ground there with the cameras and interviewing people. We need more people out there who are not tied to these media juggernauts, interviewing people. Getting, if you're on the scene, you've got a camera, pull it out, and take some video, put it on YouTube. YouTube's become a great big soup of independent journalism. People videoing the cops.
It's become a magnifier. It's a magnifier to what's going on in small places and big places, and it's just bringing it out to the public. It's important.
Yep. Well, it's interesting because since I've developed this Facebook network in the last few years, I've got personal contacts. Well, I've got you in England. I've got David in Melbourne over the other side of Australia, and quite a few on the east coast of Australia. Just this week I made contact with a Syrian journalist who's put his views across about what's going on in Syria. I've got Ramsey Noor, an educated fellow from Afghanistan, with a 50,000 strong website called Beyond the Truth. And so these are individuals peppered around the world with good intelligence and making observations of their own countries and feeding them into my mind and into my network, our network now. And so people can see what's really going on through the lens of people who care, who are informed, and who don't have a government or hidden agenda.
Yeah, and they're on the
great.
ground and they're living it.
Yep.
Yes.
And so many. I mean, I'm a bit of a podcast junkie. I moved on from the Alex Jones stuff to the Liberty Media out there, and listening to things like freetalklive.com. They're really great. freedomsphoenix.com with Ernest Hancock. He's an awesome anarchist activist, and he's all about solutions and things, which is great. How? Okay, we want to live free. How? Got chickens, got electricity. Got all those things. Well, we'll help you out with all of that and show you how it's done. Awesome stuff, and I've networked with quite a few of them as well. Like a good man named Yale in. He's actually in Austria at the moment, doing Liberty in Exile podcast, libertyinexile.com, and he asked me onto his show to talk about politics in Australia. I was on his Facebook telling him, love your show and stuff, and he's like, oh, you're in Australia, want to come on my show? So, that got me started in this whole podcasting thing. I've been thinking about it, but this kind of got my toe in the water. And then I've, all these podcast people know each other, Liberty podcasters. So, that's expanded my network. And then there's everybody else on Facebook who are truthers and all that kind of stuff. It's amazing how, then we did the interviews, the recent interviews. We did 3 in the past week or something. We've got up on the website, which we've pre-recorded and then uploaded and put a player on it and stuff.
Oh, fantastic.
And these are people who have, and some really good topics too, like there's been a spate of people getting kidnapped by health
government agencies
generally, because people are asserting their rights, saying you don't have a warrant to search my house.
I'm not going to pay your illicit fine.
Exactly, things like that. So they, one guy that we interviewed, Andrew Snowden, was actually locked up in a mental institution.
You interviewed him?
Yeah, we interviewed him.
Snowden,
yeah.
Snowden.
No, different Snowden. No, not that
I was about
Snowden.
to say, that would have been a coup.
Other Snowden.
Yeah, I don't have his phone number, unfortunately, but
unfortunately.
You should see my little black book, mate. It's got some numbers in it. But anyway, Andrew Snowden is his name, not Edward, and he was in an mental institution for. They actually brought an ambulance with the cops to serve a summons. And I think it was a predetermined thing. They were just going to whisk him away into the mental health hospital because he didn't want to deal with him. He was saying, "Get off my property. You don't have a warrant," etc. He took the summons and all that. They served those papers. But anyway, you can go check out that interview and on truthwillovercometyranny.com. But the point is that through networking on Facebook, people are coming out of the woodwork, and it's really great to see the people that care and just gravitate to each other.
Funnily enough, I mean, I've been in this cycle of something is wrong and we need to get it out there since 2007, if not before. And I've only finally begun to actually get the confidence to pick up the phone and interact in this sort of a manner this year, because enough's enough, I don't have to shut up like it's me that's wrong anymore, and that's good.
Yeah. Well, I found there was a real hump to get over for me to say, start recording my own voice or broadcast it and things like that, or write articles and things like that. But you get to a point where it's like, what, by not doing it, I'm just being part of the problem.
It's the way you think, and it's the way you feel, and it's what you're observing, and you keep it to yourself, and then you extend it, and then finally, you're right, you just sort of break a hump where you're just like, fuck it, I'm going to speak it. Got to say it. Got to get it out there.
You weigh it up and think, well, humanity as a whole, including myself, has more to lose from being quiet.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you one more person who's been doing a good job, and I'm half loath to admit it because I kind of had some bad thoughts about him last year and didn't think too much of him, because I actually wrote a poem about Schapelle Corby, who's another person who's been demonised by Australian media and abandoned by Australians and its government.
Sold down the river, yeah.
Horribly so. And so, I mean, to his credit, Max Eigen plugged the Expendable project and went out to bat for Schapelle Corby in quite a few of his broadcasts. And after watching the Expendable project, I was really pissed off about what had happened to Schapelle as well. And I wrote a poem called Free Schapelle. I sent it to Max, and a couple others sent it to him as well. And I never heard back from him, and I was kind of disappointed with that, to say the least, and stopped listening to him.
But
now we're dealing with Americans and people all over the world here, so they probably aren't aware of Schapelle Corby. Just a brief on that. Schapelle Corby is an Australian citizen who went for a holiday in Bali, and she was found to have, once she arrived in Bali, which is part of Indonesia, that she had 7 or 17
I think
kilos?
It was 4 kilos, 4 to 7, what is it?
Okay, something like that. Yeah, something like some large amount of marijuana in a boogie board bag, like a surfboard bag. Now, there's a lot of problems with the case as far as, it's believed that the baggage handlers had put that in her luggage. And the other, on the face of it, I'll just put this out there, that marijuana is a lot more expensive in Australia than it is in Indonesia. And, if you were to, there's no commercial value really in smuggling marijuana into Indonesia from a country where it costs a whole lot more, like it's nearly 10 times more or something. It doesn't make any sense. So for that quantity,
doesn't make enough dollars.
No, she would have made a loss if she tried to sell it on the street there or something, or wholesale it off. So
yeah, like you say, she could have left it at home. If it was her, she could have left it at home and got 10 to 50 times more money for it. That doesn't make much fucking sense.
Yeah, if I was a drug smuggler, I'd smuggle it from Indonesia to Australia, not the other way around. But anyway, she was sold down the river by her government. They didn't give her any real diplomatic support. Basically gave her a trial by media, saying she was guilty before the fact. And
gave her corrupt lawyers instead of good ones.
Yeah, didn't give her any of the support that you would expect as an Australian citizen being charged, possibly getting the death penalty in a country where they have the death penalty for drugs. Basically, just demonised her and her family and made her out to be a drug dealer.
And mind you,
making an example.
Making an example, exactly.
Sorry, while we're on the subject of the media, that's precisely what both the government and the corporate media also did to Schapelle Corby and still do to this very fucking day.
And they do it to a lot of people. They demonise people, assassinate their character, and there's not a lot of consequences for it.
Yep, you speak up, you're going to be shot down.
Yep. Yeah, so if you were challenging the system, look at all the negative, all the stuff that whenever Alex Jones is mentioned in the media, he's crackpot or conspiracy theorist.
Oh my God, he
whatever,
was on some
all the names.
interview. He was interviewed in the
with
UK
Piers Morgan about guns.
No, it was after the wasn't the G20. Or was it? He came over and he was on a British political chat show, and it was just embarrassing the way the English presenter interviewed him, and he was.
Bilderberg, or was that the Bilderberg thing?
Yes, it was after the Bilderberg, and it was. It wasn't Andrew Marr, it was Andrew something, and he was doing. He became like a child doing loony signs around his head saying this man's mad, blah, 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 blah. And he worked Alex Jones up into such a state that Alex Jones defended himself. And then, it was Andrew Neil, that's exactly who it was. And it was an embarrassment that a journalist on the BBC could behave in such a way. And I'm surprised there wasn't uproar. But going back to drugs mules, we've had 3 quite public cases in the UK in the last year. Most recently, 2 20-somethings who are in Mexico via Ibiza. And there's a big debate as to whether if they plead guilty, that they should serve their time in the UK at the UK taxpayers' expense. And then there's another case where it's a grandmother, so in her late 50s, 60s, who's going to be given the death penalty. It's cocaine, not marijuana, so it's a different ballgame.
Right.
But it's all very fucked up. What can you say?
Yeah. It's such a circus, you know, and it gets that way. You know, it's hard not to be cynical when you're watching mainstream media and just, you know, if you're not, you know, if you haven't got your shields up a bit, or you're you know, you can't afford to be in one of those passive, suggestive, just absorbing kind of modes with the mainstream media, because there's so much neuro-linguistic programming,
and
trying to you know, get people to reach a conclusion rather than just
I don't watch the news when my children are here because I don't want them to know. And it's not about protecting them in a delusional way. It's about
it's an onslaught. You know, like especially when they're reporting things like
an onslaught.
Like you look at how war is reported and how slanted it is, and you know, like take Israel and Palestine, the conflict there. Whenever an Israeli is killed, you know, you get to know their name, you get to see their family grieving, you know, in a dignified way. You get to see, you know, that person's humanized. When a Palestinian dies, or a swathe of them, you know, they're faceless.
Some insurgents were knocked over.
Yeah, and you get some really graphic view of their corpse or something like that. You know,
the BBC are terrible for that. They are terrible for it.
Absolutely. I mean, I've consumed my fair share of the BBC, and I'd agree. Yeah. And so they're dehumanised. There's always some excuse as to why they were killed. You know, they're made out to be militants, or they give them a different name. You know, they're not a citizen; they're a militant, and things like that. So you know, and it's horrible. It's horrible to watch it when you
speak. Well, it's inflammatory talk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so unbalanced, and
that is what's fed into the households of the majority of Brits. It's absolutely obscene.
Yeah, and if you've got the majority of a population tuning in and getting the same information, I mean, that's going to create a majority opinion. You know, so.
We've only got about 7 or 8 minutes left, guys. I just wanted to quickly get back to that thing that I was talking about with Max Eigen. His website is called The Crow's House, or the Crow's Nest, one of the two.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And he does weekly talks, which are very calm, one would say, very informative and so forth. He put one out last night, or I watched it last night. It was called Society is Unwell, Help is Needed. Now, I tagged him when I posted that on Facebook to suggest that was possibly the, what would you call it, the understatement of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a really good talk, and I'd commend that talk to anyone that's listening on the idea of what we're talking about, collaborating with people of like minds across the globe. Come on, things are getting really fucking bad here. Let's just admit that things are really bad and start doing something.
Yeah, well, I can't remember who said it, but shit's getting real. Yeah, you know, the people perish through lack of knowledge. You know, that is I can't remember who said it.
Well, it's actually a biblical saying.
It is biblical. Yeah, there you go. And it's true. Like, when people fall under these delusions and you know, have things repeated at them often enough that they start repeating it and start parroting, and it becomes their opinion. It's so dangerous, and
but it's
really,
not even just dangerous. It's the cop out. It's the easy way.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going through their own shit, so they choose not to think outside of what they can actually take on board. I mean, I remember a couple of programs ago, you had this young lad ring up, and I really felt for him. He was like, what do I do? I'm waking up and it's freaking me out, and I can't remember his name, but I remember him calling in, and I really felt for him. I was just like, he felt so isolated, and the biggest thing is when all the pennies drop in the right slot and you see the bigger picture, it is quite freaky. It's scary.
It sure is.
It's mind-blowing.
Well, imagine once again that girl, Chappelle Corby, who's been in jail now for 7 or 9 years. I can't remember how much. She probably can't even remember herself. Before we go, I'd just really like to read this poem for Chappelle Corby over there in Bali, abandoned by her country. Please watch The Expendable Project. It's a movie, it's a documentary that will explain this, which is, it was also the launching pad for me to write this poem. Okay, I wasn't able to write this poem without the information contained in the movie called The Expendable Project. This is called Free Chappelle.
Cool.
There is an unfair land called Australia that gets involved in other people's fights and masks its motives behind human rights, while its record in such is abject failure. Just as they hide Aborigine genocide, history and education side by side, high priests of information have distorted another nation. Justifying one corruption after another, just a colonial agent for Big Brother, with tears to govern, meant to smother, and control just like every other. Knee-deep in a long so-called war on drugs, a protection racket carried out by thugs, a prohibition propaganda switch, a wild goose hunt where they changed the witch. No one noticed the Mafia ran the show. No one noticed the Mafia ran the show. Too much baggage to let everyone know. Some guy had to fall, or better a girl, and then let the lies and the flag unfurl. Under covers of diplomacy and law, they took Chappelle Corby and threw her away, deserted her in a prison to this very day, dumped by her country on an alien shore. So many years of corruption to hide, looking for a place to stuff it inside. The woman's body board bag for the ride. We know the truth can always be denied. Just as a little evidence goes missing, justice and crime can be seen kissing, the dirty hands that feed malice and greed, and make sure that everyone is agreed that we're all better off if just one bleeds, so we can follow along as the musician reads, and bump and grind to the moronic feeds that sets up who and in what to believe, chanting, convicted drug smuggler, indeed. So that woman squanders her life in jail to protect corrupt officials who tell, it's not me, Your Honour, I do pray tell, it's that wicked, naughty, bad girl, Chappelle, turned over to the masses and dropped in hell. What will it take to rescue Chappelle? Will Australians remember how she fell? Can't you let go of your beers for a minute? And are you going to let them spin it? Take your eyes off the football and the cricket. This is your country. You want them to dick it? Are you calling her expendable too? Is she Aborigine, Palestinian, a Jew? What can this Australian hope to do to get a fellow Aussie out of this stew? This woman's fate is a national scandal. The state has been a treacherous vandal, ruining her life to cover their shame in their filthy and treasonous game. They call it a war on drugs, but its name should be subjugation of the masses. It spies, it lies, it picks and harasses, sells them popcorn without getting off their asses. I'd like to see us all be able to run free. I don't want to be ashamed of my country, but while Chappelle rots away in a Bali jail, my government gets a great big fail.
That's awesome. Did you write that?
Great.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's great.
Have you sent it to her?
Much. Yeah, that's for her. That's for Chappelle. That's for you, Chappelle.
Yeah, but have you sent it to her in prison?
I've tried it.
Yeah, maybe you should send it to her.
It's pretty hard to get stuff to people in jail.
In Bali,
no,
yeah.
It's not. Well,
yeah, you should.
Certainly,
you
in my
should send
experience, it's not. I think you should try and find a way to get it to her.
I have sent it to her family. Kim should have it. I hope she's got it, put it that way.
Okay, cool.
Because these things really, really help in dark times.
Yeah, that's what I was going to pretty much take us out with, and that is that, okay, the corporate media is not serving our interests. They're serving government interests and their own interests, military, industrial, everything else. We haven't even got into all that. But what I'd like to get to is, again, people, if you're not happy with the media, you're not happy with the government, you're not happy with this, you're not happy with that, you'd like to see positive change in the world, do something. Get off the couch, right? And first of all, what I did, at some stage I declared my independence, and it's really easy. There's no forms involved. You don't have to ask permission, get a license or anything like that. You just put your right hand in the air and you say out loud, I, fill in the blank, declare my independence. And that's it. You're done. Okay. So now your mind is prepped to do things for itself, right? To think for itself. The government doesn't hold the truth. The corporate media doesn't hold the truth. I'm going to look elsewhere, do my research, and take some responsibility for what you're thinking, what you know. Get some real knowledge. And then, if you really want to do something, there's plenty of places out there that need volunteers. There's plenty of places out there. You can just sit at your computer and spiel into a microphone and then upload it somewhere, or make a video, or be out and about and catch something on video, interview people, things like that, and contribute, put stuff back out there.
It doesn't even need to be in a media sense. It can be in a small, random act of kindness.
Very true. Very true.
Absolutely.
I mean, you just walk down the street.
It doesn't have
the world
to be
changes.
egocentric. Just a small thing for somebody that you just feel instinctive to help.
Yep.
Whether it's somebody that can't walk well in the supermarket or can't, whatever, just do it.
It's amazing, you can be, say, depressed or feel insignificant and all that kind of stuff, but it's amazing how quickly the world changes when you change the way you interact with it and the people in it, with the people around you. If you, show kindness. Just, not everyone is out to get you, and even if they are,
it doesn't have to be a big gesture. It's not karma points. Everyone loves the idea of karma points, but if
it just makes the world a more enjoyable place to be in.
A small act of random kindness whenever the opportunity arose, it would be a nicer place to be.
Yeah, we've got a short time on this planet, most of us live to about 80, 90, if you're lucky we reach 100, and,
I don't agree with that for starters, David. That is not true. Not most of us. Very, very few of us reach those ripe old ages nowadays. Very few.
I agree with you, Baz, because the government, part of their austerity measures is saying that we're all living longer, so we all have to work till we're 65 and beyond, and it's another whole patter of bullshit. And actually, what's really happening is we're dying younger and younger because of geoengineering,
vaccination,
quiet warfare through vaccinations, and through hideous food practices that we're being fed every day. And I think it's a whole load of bunkum that we're all living longer. It's just bollocks. They just are
fair
doing
enough.
that.
I do stand corrected. I stand corrected on that. I agree.
They're saying they haven't got the money to pay our pensions and blah, blah, blah. It's bollocks.
Yeah. They want us to die off at about retirement age. So
David Suzuki...
we're all getting cancer the minute we stop work, huh?
David Suzuki, the master of maggots, is on record as saying we have the technology to allow humans to live to 500 years of age, but I'm quite sure that he doesn't mean every human.
Yeah. So we need to create our own media, our own solutions. The government and the big think tanks and the big foundations and that are not going to save us. Quite the opposite. They are to our detriment. So what we need to do is look to independence, and independence from their food, from their propaganda, from their fake authority, all those things. And that's what I think people should be thinking about these days, is how can I secure safe food? How can I protect myself from this, that, and the other? And, how can I get some decent water to drink and all that kind of stuff? Once you've got those basics solved, and I think it's going to take more than just individual households, but it starts there, we can, support organic farms, things like that. We can, it's not all about taking on the man. I mean, at some point or another, most of us are going to have to, deal with that in some form. But the other thing is just being able to breathe in and out. Just keep breathing in and out, and be as independent as you can, live as free as possible. Because the more free you live, that is resistance. That's the ultimate resistance.
I live in an area where we have natural spring water, and I collect.
Look, I'm really sorry, guys, but we've already gone over the 2 hours. I've got a few things to do.
Oh, we better go.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
We need to.
That'll
we
be
need
another
to
conversation.
Come back next week now, I think.
It's been a great show. Gone over a lot of good stuff, but
always a pleasure. I'm sorry if I talk too much. I do apologize.
No, it's not you, love. We just need to wrap it up. That's all, and we'll certainly catch up with you on Fastbook very soon.
Fastbook, I love it. All the best.
I love you too. Thanks, Melissa, for
Peace
calling
out.
in.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey.
Yeah, she's got a lovely voice too. All right, so that's the end of the show. We'll see you next week, and also check out truthwillovercometyranny.com and facebook.com / the NWO will fail. And we're on Facebook on facebook.com / truth will overcome tyranny. And I've had a lot of fun. Create your own media. And be very careful what you take as gospel from the mainstream, seriously, or anybody. You still there, Baz?
Yes, I am.
All right, we're signing off.
Okay, so until next week, we'll see you then, folks.
See ya.
Hey, yo, Ice, man, I'm working on this term paper for college. What's the First Amendment?
Freedom of speech. That's the motherfucking bullshit. You say the wrong thing, they'll lock your ass up quick. The FCC says profanity, no airplay. They can suck my dick while I take a shit all day. Think I give a fuck about some silly bitch named Gore, your PMRC. Here we go. War. Yo, shit, what's the matter? You ain't getting no dick. You bitching about rock and roll. That's censorship, dumb bitch. The Constitution say we all got a right to speak. Say what we want, tip. Your argument is weak. Censor records, TV, school books, too. And who decides what's right to hear you? Hey, PMRC, you stupid fucking assholes. The sticker on the record is what makes it so gold. Can't you see? You're alcoholic idiots. The more you try to suppress us, the larger we get. Freedom of speech. Just watch what you say. Freedom of speech. Yeah. Just watch what you say. Freedom of speech. Yeah, boy. Just watch what you say. You have the right to remain silent. Fuck that right. I want the right to talk. I want the right to speak. I want the right to walk where I wanna. Yelling, I'm gonna tell and rebel every time I'm on a microphone on the stage, cold illin'. The knowledge I drop will be heard by millions. We ain't the problems, we ain't the villains. It's the suckers, the problem, the truth from our children. You can't hide the fact jacks and violence in the streets every day. Any fool can recognize that. But you try to lie and say America's some motherfucking apple pie. Yo, you gotta be high to believe that you're gonna change the world by a sticker on a record sleeve. Cause once you take away my right to speak, everybody in the world's up shit creep. Freedom of speech. Yeah. Just watch what you say. Freedom of speech. Yeah. Yeah, boy, just watch what you say.
Freedom of speech.
You better watch what you say.
Explicit lyrics. Explicit lyrics.
Let me tell you about down south. The real motherfucker might as well not even have a mouth. Columbus, Georgia said they'd lock me up if I got on the stage in my show and said fuck. So I thought for a minute and said no, I wasn't even gonna do a damn show. Cause for me to change my words for my rhymes was never gonna happen cause there's no sellouts on mine. But I'm about to get those motherfuckers one day. They even arrested Bobby Brown and Cool J. Yo, they got theirs coming cause I'm mad and I'm gunning, homeboys, and there's no running. I'm gonna tell you how I feel about you. No bull, no lies, no slack, just straight facts. Columbus, Georgia, you can suck my dick. You ain't nothing but a piece of fucking shit on the damn map.
Freedom of speech.
Yeah, just watch what you say.
Freedom of speech.
Yeah, you better watch what you say.
Freedom of speech.
Just watch what you say.
Parental advisory. Parental advisory.
Freedom of speech, let them take it from me, next they'll take it from you. Then what you gonna do? Let them censor books, let them censor art. PMRC, this is where the witch hunt starts. You'll censor what we see, we read, we hear, we learn. The books will burn. You better think it out. We should be able to say anything. Our lungs were meant to shout. Say what we feel. Yell out what's real. Even though it may not bring mass appeal. Your opinion is yours. My opinion is mine. If you don't like what I'm saying, fine. But don't close it. Always keep an open mind. A man who fails to listen is blind. We only got one right left in the world today. Let me have it or throw the Constitution away. Fine. We only got one right left in the world today. Let me have it or throw the Constitution away. We only got one right left in the world today.